begin in approximately 5, 4, 3, 2. Calling together all amateur radio operators. This is the weekly net of the M17 Project. I'm Ed, November 2, X-Ray Delta Delta, and I will be your net control station today. This net meets weekly on Fridays at 1700 hours UTC by means of the M17 Charlie Reflector. The purpose of this net is to relay and share information in regards to the M17 project. M17 is a new digital radio protocol in development as an alternative to those currently available with freedom in mind. Freedom in the code, protocol, voice codecs, and hardware. The goal is to provide a better option for digital radios in the future. We encourage all amateur radio operators to check into this net. We will take check-ins followed by an informal roundtable to discuss all things M17 related. When checking into this net, please try and keep your transmissions under 3 minutes, and the initial pushing your torque and waiting about 2 seconds before proceeding with your call sign using proper ITU phonetics, followed by your name and location, and if you have any information for the net. I will now stand by for net check-ins.
Hi guys, this is Sierra Papa 5 Whiskey Papa, Wojciech, located in Warsaw, Poland, and I'm using Droid Star today, and I might have some traffic, so back to net.
This is Kilo Charlie 1 Alpha Whiskey Victor, Steve in Boston, coming through Echolink today. You have no traffic for the net. This is Kilo Delta 2, Uniform Quebec Kilo, Rob in Long Island, New York, with no traffic. You sound very animated today, Ed. Very nice. This is Kilo 9 Foxtrot Hotel, Phil, near Chicago, coming in using Droid Star for iOS. No traffic. This is Alpha 4 Hotel Sierra. This is Maitland in Alexandria, Virginia, and I'm on Droid Store on Android, actually. Back to that. This is Jonathan G4KLX, located near Crawley, using Droid Store on iOS, and I have a little bit of traffic for the net.
This is India Uniform 2, Kilo India November, operator name Niccolo, from Milan, Italy, and I have a little bit of traffic. This is Delta 5 Juliet Foxtrot Kilo, Jacob from Munich in Germany, and no traffic.
Okay, guys, we're going to hold it up there. Net Control wishes to recognize SP5WWV with traffic. KC1AWV Steve, just because you don't have traffic doesn't mean I'm not going to call on you. Rob, KD2UQK, I'm extra caffeinated today, so that's what the animation comes from. Thank you for noticing. Phil from Chicago area, K9FH, thank you for checking in once again this week. Maitland, A4HS from Virginia. Jonathan, G4KLX with traffic. Nico, IU2KIN from Milan, Italy, part of the OpenRX team with traffic. And Jacob, DD5JFK from Germany. Do we have any further check-ins for the M17 Project Weekly Net? Please call Net Control.
KC2, DBJ, no traffic.
TJ, please come back with your name and location.
Roger that, KC2, DBJ, Kilo Charlie 2, Delta Papa Juliet. The name is Jim from Western New York. No traffic.
Thank you for that, Jim. Anybody else wishing to check in with or without traffic, please call November 2, X-Ray Delta Delta. Okay, hearing nothing. First up on the list, Sierra Papa 5, Whiskey Papa. Over to you.
Thanks, Ed. Hi, guys. This is Wojciech. I have some update on our repeater site. We are working really hard to finish the work before next Tuesday. So there is only one thing left to do there. The rack cabinet is on the ground. It's solid, and the antenna is on the chimney already. It's 117 meters above the ground, and it's a Diamond X200N. So there's just feeder left to place on the chimney, and that's going to be probably done on Monday. So the repeater should be operational before Tuesday, I think. I have to visit the site and connect the duplexer to the feeder line. So, and then run the server and see if it logs into Steve's server so I can remotely SSH into it. So we will have to do it on Monday or Tuesday. And that's about it for me. And I've got a lot of potatoes to peel, so sorry guys, I have to leave. But I will be listening, so go ahead, and maybe if you have some questions, I will be able to answer them. So back to Net Control.
Well, thank you for stopping in. We appreciate the updates on the repeater project over in Poland. And good luck with peeling your potatoes. And if we have anything for you, we'll give you a shout, because I'm sure you will be listening. Next up on the list, G4KLX. That's Jonathan, across the pond, as they like to say. He's the man behind MMDVM host and now the M17 client. Jonathan, we're going to pass it over to you.
Yeah, hi all, from G4KLX. Sorry about for going in and out of the system just now. I had some problems with DudeStar. This late. I did a pull and it's not very stable, to be perfectly honest. I've had it crash a few times. But I'm using DudeStar on Linux at the moment, but I had to hop in using iOS just now. Yeah, I'd like to say thank you to OSI. I received the radio today so that I'm able to now proceed with experiments. Hopefully next Friday, hopefully I'll be here. Next net, I should hopefully be able to log in using RF, albeit, a matter of only a few meters across the room, but I should be able to do it from M17 client through to an MMDVM repeater or running M17 digital end-to-end, as opposed to anything else really. So that should be very exciting. But I needed more time than I had today because I had to work as well as do everything else. So there just wasn't enough hours in the day before the net started to have it all up and running. So I'll try and work on that over the weekend and/or next week. It's a matter of finding the cables and maybe some soldering and then adjusting levels and everything. But after that, M17. This is G4KLX.
I hate when I do that. I have too many radios going at once and I grab the wrong microphone. Jonathan, thank you for that update. And if anybody would like some more information on Jonathan's projects, including the M17 client, check them out at github.com/G4KLX. Next up down the list, we have Nico with traffic. IU2KIN to get it. Nico?
Yeah, IU2KIN here, so I wanted to basically give, since I didn't attend the last M17 net, so I wanted to bring, the latest updates in M17 as related to the OpenRTX firmware. Basically, we right now are focusing all our development efforts towards M17 to be able to get to the transmission capability as soon as possible. And right now, what we managed to do is we basically we tested successfully the code on Linux. So because the OpenRTX firmware is able to run both on Linux and on radios, so we know that the code actually works on Linux. We are hammering it down to make it work also on the radio, but probably the TX functionality is quite close. For those of you who may not know, you will be able to use OpenRTX, which is a custom firmware to modulate M17 by flashing it on the MD380 or the MD-UV380, albeit needing a little hardware modification, which is described on our site, openrtx.org. Probably in a couple of weeks we will have the transmission functionality via RF, which is very cool, especially because we already have M17 support in MMDVM, thanks to Jonathan. And at least you might be able to join the net, at least on the transmission side, from the RF. Then we will start working on the reception part, but it will take a bit more time. So I believe this is it, and if you have some question, otherwise back to you, Net Control.
Nico, thank you very much for that update to the OpenRTX.org project in regards to getting closer and closer to having M17 on the 380 series of radios a reality. Does anybody have any questions for Nico in regards to his traffic?
KC2DPJ, I have a question.
KC2DPJ, that's Jim in upstate New York. Please go ahead with your question.
The RF capability analog, I presume, is that just going to be limited to that model, or is that going to be allowed for analog radios, period? And is it kind of the same concept that I'm hearing about an app or a program called Analog Reflector?
So, if I understood the question correctly, basically, are you talking about the analog support in OpenRTX? That one is available on also on many other models. So currently on the GD77 and on the I believe yeah, and it will be soon available also on the on the DM1801 and on the MD9800. Sorry, all these different models. So by using that and with the analog interface of MMDVM, you can already, but even without OpenRTX, even just using MMDVM as an analog to M17 bridge, you can, of course, reach any M17 reflector through RF. But obviously, yeah, you will be able to do that with any analog radio out there, and this is still a way to use M17, but M17 will be only between the repeater, the gateway, and the reflector itself. So it will be actually M17 only on the network part. Instead, I'm talking about having basically pure M17 RF, which means that the radio actually modulates using the M17 protocol, so using 4FSK, and that's it. I hope that I have understood correctly your question. Otherwise, feel free to ask again. So back to you, Lens Control.
Okay, Nico, thanks for the reply. Jim, does that answer your question?
I understood him to say, Nico, that it is capable at the network, but can any radio analog hit the reflector, of which then it is connecting on the other end?
Okay, so when basically when we will release M17 TX functionality, you will be able to from the modified MD380 or the modified MD UV380, just these two radios and the clones of these two radios, you will be able to reach the basically the an M17 enabled hotspot, okay? And from that point, you will be able to, for example, access all the reflectors which are connected to that hotspot, and this using M17 all the way. So M17 RF between the radio and the hotspot, and M17 on the network between the hotspot and the reflector. So this is when it will be available, and in a few weeks, hopefully, this will be pure M17. So it will not make use of the gateway. It will be M17 all the way. I hope that now I have got correctly the question.
Roger that. I appreciate that. So it's basically limited to those two models as of the inception, which you say will be in about 2 weeks. Thank you for the information, KC2DPJ.
You too, Kenyan, again. If I might conclude, yeah, the models are those two, but remember that there are also clones of those models. So Retevis RT3 and Retevis RT3S are virtually identical, so they are supported as well. And now back to you, Net Control.
Okay, Jim, thank you for the question. Nico, thank you for the detailed response. We appreciate the participation here. This is N2XDD Net Control Station for the weekly session of the M17 Project Net. Do we have any elite check-ins or anybody with any questions or comments? Please hold Net Control.
India Uniform 2, Kilo Whiskey Oscar, Silvano from Milan, Italy, no traffic.
Sierra Papa 5, Whiskey Papa, I might have some more traffic.
Okay, Silvano, thank you for checking in, and we got you here in the log. We appreciate that. SP5WWP, always on the side listening. Go ahead, Wojciech.
All right, thanks. As potatoes are boiling, so I can have some time on the net. We have received an Romeo Sierra 41, so that's RS41 radio sound from Sierra Papa 5 Lima Oscar Tango. He's more or less my neighbor. He lives nearby. So he sent me one piece of that radio sound for free. Thanks. And I was able to transmit 4 FSK using it and using my own firmware. So we are going to try and modulate M17 using the sound. The signal output doesn't look really clean. There is a lot of spectral leakage, I would say. So if I'm transmitting on one frequency, I can see many peaks on the left side and on the right side. And the first peak is really high, about 10 decibels less than the carrier. So that's quite a lot, and that's wasting. It's just a waste of power. But it might be able to transmit M17 just fine. So I'm testing it right now, and it looks good. So Silvano or Nicolo is going to send me a sample stream of M17, and I'm going to flash it onto the radio sound and try to transmit it. And if it works, then we might be able to hook it up to a balloon and send it to the stratosphere. So I think that's great. Back to Net Control.
Thank you for that update, SP5WWP. Does anybody have any questions or comments in regard to Wojciech's traffic?
India Uniform 2, Kilo Whiskey Oscar.
Silvano, go ahead, please.
Many thanks. No, just a little comment about the spectrum. Maybe before effectively sending the radio sound on a balloon, it should be a good idea to put a little L inductor capacitor filter, just to try to reduce a bit all the, how can I say, the spectrum pollution. Also, okay, I do not know effectively which is the bandwidth of the filter that the radio sound has on its antenna stage, so to say, but it can be a bit large filter, or in any case it should be tuned at around 400 megahertz, and for some band we are off of the nominal frequency of the radio sound of about 30 megahertz. So maybe we can think about changing, swapping some capacitors and inductors on the filtering stage before the antenna. Maybe. And back to net control.
Okay, Silvano, thank you very much for the information. Do we have anybody else with any questions, comments, or late check-ins? Please call net control.
SP5, Wojciech.
Hey, go ahead.
Okay, Silvano, listen, the spectrum looks like a trident, so there are 3 peaks, and the middle peak is the carrier, which we want, and on the left side and on the right side, there is also a big peak, but not that big as the carrier, and the frequency difference between them is about 50 kilohertz, so that's not much. So that would be, we would have to use a really nice quality filter to filter it out. So I don't think that's a great idea. And you said that there is a low-pass filter or any filter between the antenna and the SI4032 chip. That's the RF chip in the radio sound. I think there is just impedance match and nothing else, and that's why it can work from 200 to 900 megahertz. Of course, I have exaggerated the range, but it can work between 430 to 440 with no problems at all. Back to net.
Okay, thank you for that. Anybody else with any questions or comments, late check-ins, or any other thing they wish to talk about, please call net control.
India Uniform 2 Kilo India November.
Okay, Nico, go ahead with your information.
I have a question for Sierra Papa 5 Whiskey Papa about the Beacon M17 balloon. This is a very exciting project. I can't wait for it. But can we also make it so that basically we get the GPS information from the balloon, from the sound GPS integrated receiver, and we include that as part of the modulated M17 frames, so that we have a way of tracking somehow the position of the balloon. Also, I know that this is a bit higher level of difficulty because it doesn't let us just play a preprocessed stream of M17 data, but if we since we are close to make TX work on OpenRTX, we might be able to reuse the same code and simply re-encode the M17 stream live with a different GPS stream, or even just save the pre-encoded codec 2 stream and embed that by changing the GPS data field. How does it sound?
There is a U-Blocks GPS chip on board, so I'm pretty sure it just spits out NMEA data stream, so that's a standard. And of course, we could use a predefined voice stream and just add the GPS data to it and just transmit it. But remember that this is just a side project. Our main goal right now is to have M17 implemented in MD380. And as I said, this is just a side project. And the first task right here is to check if this sound is really capable of transmitting M17, not only for FSK, because this might not be enough. I mean, M17 doesn't really use 4FSK because the modulating signal is filtered out by a root-raised cosine filter. So there is no such thing in the sound, and I can't implement it because the difference between the outer symbols is just 18 steps, because we have to write to a specific register to tell it what's the frequency offset from the carrier, and the step that is achievable by using this register is 250 Hertz, and that's a lot. So to have 2400 Hertz deviation left and right, we have to just use about 9 or 10 steps, and that's it. So we have to find out if M17 can be transmitted using RS41 sound back to net control.
Okay, guys, thank you for that. This is N2XDD, Net Control Operator, for this week's session of the M17 Project Net. Is there anybody who wishes to check in at this time, or anybody with any questions, comments, or traffic? Please call Net Control.
ADP checking in. No traffic today.
ADP Doug, thank you very much for checking in today. We appreciate it. Anybody else?
Okay, if there is no one else, I might add one more sentence. Sierra Papa 5.
One more sentence, and then we're going to have to cut you off. Go ahead, just kidding.
Okay, so just a quick follow-up for Silvano and Nicolo. What we effectively do right here is just setting 4 different frequencies. We are not using any frequency between them. So we are just setting, if you want to transmit let's say, symbol -3 and +3, we just set the frequency to -3 and then jump instantaneously to frequency +3 for that symbol. So while we are doing it, we have to remember that it takes some time for the phase-locked loop to lock. That's number one. And number two is that this transition takes a lot of spectrum because it's just a very fast change of frequency. So that's all I had to say. Back to Ned. Thanks.
Okay, let's guys open the Open RTX guys. Either one of you have anything to add to that?
JUL Oscar.
Silvano.
Okay, thanks. Couple of things about GPS modules. I know for sure because I played some time ago with radio songs that as soon as you power on the sound, it tries to do fix, so to find satellites, and as soon as you power the sound on, it will transmit and MER sentences back to the microcontroller, so we can easily parse them, obtain data, and we are done. I have some information about that because I did a bit of playground with that. Then we can either think about a small porting of OpenRTX or a small ad hoc firmware for M17 transmission. Then, about what Wojciech said, yes, of course, that the spectrum of M17 transmission on radio sound has like the carrier and 4 spikes mirrors, because we are effectively transmitting on those frequencies. So I know what he is referring to. So yeah, it's like doing audio with a PWM signal without filtering it, more or less, so to say. So yeah, it's not very clean. Okay, back to net control.
Okay, Silvano, thank you very much for that follow-up. We appreciate it. Anybody else with any traffic or check-ins, please call into XDD Net Control.
Sierra Papa 5 again.
Sierra Papa 5 station, go ahead.
Oh, that station from Poland. Okay. I just wanted to say that it might not be obvious, but what we are going to do with the radio sound RS41 won't be M17, because it won't be compatible with our specification. So we are going to use 4FSK instead of filtered 4FSK, because we are effectively bypassing the root raised cosine filter. So we are going to use 4FSK for that, and the spectrum won't be nice. And that's all I had to say. Thanks, Ed, and back to net control.
I think you're lying when you say that's all you have to say. I'm sure I'll be hearing back from you in a few. Well, once again, this is the M17 Project Weekly Net. M17 has a very strong presence on IRC, Discord, and Matrix, where all three social media platforms are linked together. So if you want to get in touch with anybody from the M17 Project team, I suggest you check out M17Project.org, and there'll be links for our social media platforms there, and you'll be able to interact with the team that way. This is N2XDD. I'm your net control station. Speaking of team members, let's shoot up to Boston, KC1AWV, and hopefully Steve isn't mid-bite of his lunch. Steve, what do you got going on? Anything new to report for the M17 net?
You know, I really thought I was going to be able to get out of this. Not much going on. I've been, doing my day job stuff, so, some of the things I wanted to do for M17 have been kind of put on hiatus for the time being. And speaking of being animated, we got quite a few people here watching Euro 2020, so if you hear any shouts and hollers in the background, that's just people getting excited over the game. But I'm keeping an eye on what's going on with the repeater. I'm really looking forward to seeing that thing get onto the internet so that we can get in there and start playing around, and maybe I can send some secret messages over to Wojciech over there. And there's a lot of books that have been ordered and sent out, and I know that Mike is heading up that side of making sure that people that want to get some education in, has the ability to order books and get those in. So if you have any ideas of anything that you may want to learn about, just let us know, and we'll see what we can do about getting the information over to you. That's pretty much it for me. So I'll pass it back to Net Control so I can get to lunch. This is KC1AWV.
Okay, Steve, thank you very much. We appreciate that update. Anybody with any questions, comments, late check-ins, or any traffic, please call Net Control. Okay, guys, looks like we're going to wrap it up here. For those in the States, it's a holiday weekend. On Sunday, we celebrate Independence Day. So a lot of people will be celebrating with a nice, long 3-day weekend. So just be careful out there, everyone, and thanks for checking into the net today. We definitely appreciate the support. And once again, if you have any questions or comments or anything that you'd like to direct any team members from the net, please check us out at M17Project.org. And there'll be links to the various ways of getting in touch with us. I'd like to thank all the stations that checked in today for participating and supporting the net. Your help in maintaining this net is appreciated by one and all. This is Ed, November 2, X-Ray Delta Delta, and the net is now secured at 1745 hours UTC. 730.